so part 6. Again, we are talking about courage. Fighting for what is right, even when it's dangerous, even when I'm afraid. You guys will all have opportunity in your lifetime. You don't think you will, but you will. All right, so we're talking about the Battle of Saratoga, one of the battles of the war. By the way, I said that we already had a Constitution, but I meant the Declaration of Independence. We've already declared independence, and we had the Continental Congress, okay, ruling in Pennsylvania. I realized, but then, you know me and remaking videos, so hope nobody else from other places watched that and not this one. All right, so one of our battles, the turning point of the Revolution, is the Battle of Saratoga. Well, we had these Hessian fighters, and I just was scribbling down here, that were coming down from Canada. They were ruled by a guy named Gentleman Johnny. And Gentleman Johnny he wasn't a bad guy. He was from England. I mean, he was fighting on the wrong side, but he wasn't a bad guy. And he was coming down with his troops, also had Hessian fighters, which are German fighters. They had 100-pound packs. They were coming down. And remember, they still march in straight lines with pretty red coats and brass buttons. We're still fighting like we learned from the French and Indian War, like the Indians. So we're scrappy and we shouldn't be winning, you know. So they're coming down from Canada, and we had different theaters in different parts of the war. So you may have a campaign. We have theaters and campaigns, but you may have like a northern campaign, a southern campaign. We're fighting on different fronts with different leaders from the English, different leaders from the revolutionaries, okay? So in this one, George Washington was not here because he was down south, and they're coming from Canada. So some of our guys went up there, and these are the guys who went up there. Daniel Morgan, Nathaniel Greene, and Benedict Arnold were some of the generals that were up there because this was going to be huge, because a huge, massive trip. We knew if we lost this, we'll probably lose. So they're coming down from Canada. Well, we decided we need to attack because they're going through, they have 100-pound packs on their back, and they're going through drudge and swamps and all that kind of stuff. We're great at that kind of stuff. We know all about it. Francis Marion might have been here too. I don't remember if Francis Marion was here, but I'm thinking he was too. The Swamp Fox, who we'll talk about in detail. Love him. Okay? Well, remember I told you about this guy named Horatio Gates? Well, Horatio Gates, the Snivel and Horatio, he was not known by the men. They did not want to follow him, but he kept going and talking to Congress, and he would come back with more stripes and things on his shoulder, and he would get promoted. Every time he would leave and get promoted, he would leave the men. He wouldn't be involved in the battle. He didn't live with the men. He would go have luxurious quarters. He just was not a good guy. Well, he kept coming back, and then he would be promoted. Well, this time he comes back, and Benedict Arnold was leading this. Now, Nathaniel Greene and Daniel Morgan were sharpshooters. So they ended up, they were in trees like snipers, okay? That's what they were trained to do, which was unheard of. English didn't do that. I love that. So Nathaniel Greene and Daniel Morgan, who during the French and Indian War had learned this, were in trees. And then you had Benedict Arnold, and they had like the camp of the military. Well, they didn't want to just wait to be conquered. They're like, no, we need to charge. We need to get them. They're mired down. They have packs. They're tired. We have nothing. We don't have very many supplies, so we can pick up at a moment's notice, and we can go. Remember, they have all their stuff with them and wagons and all that kind of stuff. Well, Horatio Gates comes in, and he had done this systematically over and over and over again. And he said to Benedict Arnold, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to camp here and we're going to wait. He did not have a good record, by the way. And he was just somebody that the Congress put in place. And he said, not only that, this time when he came back from the Congress, he said, you are relieved from duty to Benedict Arnold, the leader of the men of the ground troops. You are relieved from duty. I am now a general and I'm in charge. And there can only be so many generals, so you're out. So he came back, and first of all, Benedict Arnold had already had a wound to his leg that almost took him out. He had suffered a lot. He'd been with the men. He was the one with the men. So let's say you guys have a basketball team or something like that, and you're like the guy that's on the basketball team, you're the captain and you're making things happen, and maybe you're even the star player, and all of a sudden some little sniveling guy from school, because maybe you're getting recognition, maybe you're going to state and you're getting all this recognition now, and some guy that can't even play sports shows up and goes, okay, you're out, I'm in, because he wants the recognition. It was kind of like that. Nobody had any respect for Horatio Gates, but they didn't think he could go to Congress and whine and get promoted. And he kept doing it over and over again. So he told Benedict Arnold, you're out, I'm in, we're going to wait. So they were waiting, and the troops, the more they come down, the more organized they're getting. And finally, the other guys convince them, we have to charge. What are you talking about? We can't wait. We want to get them when they're unsteady. We don't want them to form and get all ready with their cannons and all that kind of stuff. They have all this equipment that we don't have. We're having a hard time even finding enough bullets for the American Revolution. I mean, we're melting down Dutch windows to get enough lead to make bullets. Seriously. So they finally convinced him, all right, we'll charge. And they started charging. And the men, and he was relieved from duty. He wanted to go fight. No, you can't. So they started charging, and the men turned around and ran back. Because he waited too long. And really now it was kind of overwhelming odds. And so the men turned around and started running back. They started just retreating, just running away. And Benedict Arnold came out, and he hears the men running at him. He turned around and said, charge! And he, on foot, remember he had always been on horseback before. He was a general. He just said, charge. And he turned around and started charging. And because he did that, the men, because who was leading them? Horatio Gates, who they knew didn't know what he was talking about. The men turned around and charged, and they won. Nathaniel and Daniel were picking him off, so they wanted him coming down so that they could pick him off. And then these guys were charging, and we won the battle against overwhelming odds because of Benedict Arnold. And he humiliated himself. He was on the ground. He didn't care that he had no rank, stripped of all rank, all authority, and he just charged, and they charged with him. Okay? Well, then Horatio Gates, sniveling little thing he is, writes, he had been doing this campaign with the Continental Congress. You know what he was like? He was a politician. That's what he was like. That's why we need honest politicians. He would write the Continental Congress and go, oh, George Washington is doing a great job when he's sober. Like, he would just say little things like that. Or, oh, I think he's doing a great job, and when we see him next, I'll ask him about it. Hinting that George Washington was the one who's leaving his troops and who's not. I'm telling you, he was always like this whisper campaign, but in a bad way. Like, just saying things, undermining people's. Have you ever known anybody like that? I've known people like that in my lifetime. And you go, what just happened? That's not the way it happened. And you realize they're just saying little things and just, stay away from those kind of people. Anyway, so Horatio Gates, here he's now the general. So he writes the Congress, the Continental Congress, and he takes credit for this skirmish, which he lost. He wasn't really even a part of it. And he did say to charge, but he hangs back. He's not with the men. Finally, after they convince him, after it really was too late, and he takes credit for the battle. Not only does he take credit for the win, he does not even mention any of these guys. And Benedict Arnold, who won the battle, everybody there knew. You can see their diaries and everything, because then everybody wrote things out. They had prayers in the morning. They wrote out their stuff. Everybody knew Benedict Arnold's the one that won the battle. Turning point of the revolution, because the English started going, oh my word, these guys are going to win. Why have they won? They just couldn't believe it. They have these men and supplies and all this, but we're scrappy. So that's really when, and Benedict Arnold got so wounded in that skirmish that he was really out. His leg was permanently done. So here he's he's not even able to do anything anymore. And he doesn't get credit for the battle, and he's demoted and everything. And really that, I think, is what made him turn. Up until that, he was a good general, but I think he thought, this is what I think he thought, this Continental Congress and this new country we're setting up, it's not going to work. There's no way. Because if there's people like this, little politicians like this can go whining to them who aren't even in the game, who aren't even leading the men, and then they can get promoted, and other men who are leading them for the safety of the men who I love can get demoted, this is never going to work. Because they know nothing about what's happened in the military and vice versa, and they're in charge. Because remember, we gave the executive branch, what is the President of the United States is the Commander-in-Chief. So the Congress was able to tell us what to do as the military. Okay, so they really had no idea. So that's really, and also Benedict Arnold was wooing a girl that a little bit later that was a loyalist and had contact with this girl, and so between that and the girl, he turned and became a traitor. But that is the Battle of Saratoga, turning point of the war, and you see Nathaniel Greene starts to emerge, Daniel Morgan as sharpshooters and really the right-hand men to George Washington. So again, I love me some Nathaniel Greene and Daniel Morgan. They were out-of-the-box thinkers. Up until then, they didn't fight wars like that. They didn't hide in trees and sharpshoot. The Indians did, but they didn't. They didn't do those kind of things. All right, I only have a couple minutes on this video, so I'm just going to show you a couple pictures. Like I didn't have a picture of Patrick Henry before. Here's Patrick Henry. Can you guys see him? Give me liberty or give me death. If this be treason, then let's make the most of it. Okay, let's see. Who else do I have that I have pictures of that I can show you guys? Benjamin Franklin, but you already know him. I didn't have time to... Oh, this is Common Sense. This is what this pamphlet looks like. So what I did on this one, I just took a piece of paper. Oh, this is Lawrence. And see a long piece of paper, and then you fold in these two flaps. And so this is Thomas Paine, and this is Common Sense, the pamphlet that he's known for. Give all kinds of... This is an old one that we just had, that I happen to have around. All right, next we are going to go on to, I don't remember who, but we'll start in just a minute. Video 7's coming up.